Okay, so for lesson two, this is simply a review of the distributive property. So in the box here, we have what the distributive property is. And it says for any numbers A, B, and C, but this also applies to variables. And basically all this is showing you is that with the distributive property, you can be distributing across or over addition, like so, or over subtraction. Okay. Now, the other thing that they show you, which I think is important, is to realize that even though we almost always write the single term in the front, right? See how we have A here and A here, and then we distribute A to B, A to C. Sometimes the single term, whether it be a number or a letter, is actually after the parentheses, like in each of these cases here. And it turns out that it doesn't matter. You're still distributing. Okay. Now, the way they wrote it is fine, but basically you're still taking A, you're distributing it to B, and then A to C. Okay. So, a quick example would be something like 4 times, 3 minus Y. Okay, so 4 times 3 would be 12. 4 times the negative y would be negative or minus 4y. Okay. All right, so we have some pretty straightforward problems here. I'm still going to go through them though, because, it's been a while. And then you'll have just a couple practice problems. And we'll see how you do. Okay, so number one is just like the example up above. Now, when you go to distribute, it's really what you feel comfortable with. Some people just do it in their heads. Some people do arrows, okay? Like 2 times x, 2 times negative 5. When we review multiplying binomials or a binomial and a trinomial, that can be helpful. If you were to look in a book, you might see it like this. 2 times x minus, or actually plus 2 times negative 5, something like that. And that's just to reinforce that you are multiplying what's inside, everything that's inside by 2. It's completely up to you. So now I tend to do the arrow thing. So for number 2, we have negative 6 times 2, so negative 12. Now, negative 6 times negative w over 3. Well, we know that's going to become positive. And if you think about it, we end up with 6w over 3, so 2w. Right. Negative y times y, as I mentioned, I think in the first video, remember you add the exponents, so we get negative y squared. Negative y times positive 4 is minus 4y. We always put the number in front, the coefficient. Okay, and then for the remaining problems, we get into using the distributive property, but then also combining like terms. So you want to make sure that you distribute before you start adding or subtracting anything. So for number 4 here, again, I'm going to do 5 times x. 5 times 8. And now I'm distributing a negative 3. So negative 3 times x, negative 3 times negative 2. After that, we now have a combined like terms problem. So 5x minus 3x is 2x. 40 plus 6 is 46. And remember, you can pause the video anytime if you just want to try these on your own, but I am going to go through each one, okay? So for number 5, excuse me, we have negative 9, and now we're distributing a negative 6. So we get positive 6v minus 30. Now, it doesn't really matter how you write your answer. You could write it as negative 39 plus 6v. Remember, we did review standard form. And in standard form, a term with a variable will always come before a constant, a plain old number. But either one is fine. Okay. Okay. For number 6, distribute the 7. Distribute the negative 8. So again, order doesn't matter, but we get 103v plus 55. Okay. So 90x squared and 12x squared will give me 102x squared. And then negative 30x or minus 30x and plus 20 are not like terms, so they just stay. Here I'm distributing the 10. And then distributing a negative 1. Remember, there's really a 1 with that negative. So we end up with minus 4x minus 1. Okay, so number 9 is actually going over standard form, a little review from the previous lesson. And okay, so we want to write in standard form. First thing I always check for is, are there any like terms? There aren't. So once again, the highest exponent that's on a variable has to come first. So our first term would be negative 12y to the 4th, then plus 4y cubed, plus 15y squared, minus 8y, plus 2. Okay, so you should be able to look at the exponents going down in descending order until you get to the constant. Remember, the y with the 8, the negative 8y, has an exponent. It's a 1. We just don't write it, just like we don't write the 1 in front of a variable. And then lastly, perform the indicated operations. Now, how you go about this is up to you. I see addition and then I see subtraction. So what I'm going to do first is combine these two polynomials with addition. So that'll give me 7x squared plus x plus 12. And now I'm going to distribute the negative 1. And then finally, combine like terms. So I end up with 4x squared plus 8x plus 11. Okay. All right, so why don't you give your practice problems a try?